Hi everybody. Welcome to the stream. If it is your first time, welcome. Um, I'm glad to have you here. Or listen to some lazy lo-fi beats, medieval lo-fi beats from somewhere in the Spotify universe. Should be able to see what I'm listening to right now up in the top left. Um, as you can tell from the screen, we have 15-minute timer for each read-in sprint. You can see the progression and location of where I'm at in A Court of Thorns and Roses. Right there in the middle. And I do have a secondary screen. This one is for when I want to show you guys where I'm at. Let's see. Let's transition over. Here we go. And this is the screen we'll use when I want to point out like certain words, notes, paragraphs, etc. Probably won't use it on the spicy scenes if I ever get to them. Honestly, I don't expect to get to them by the end of the stream. But as you can tell, I am starting at chapter 5. I have read up to chapter 5. I have read up to chapter 5 so far. Am I impressed with the book? No. Actually, I find the book to be pretty... The first 4 chapters give me hella trying to imitate Hunger Games vibes. The opening chapters, her hunting for food in the woods that she's not supposed to be in. Just like Katniss wasn't supposed to be in those woods, hunting for things for her family. My dog is getting into something in the background. If you hear a crash and a boom and me yell, I apologize in advance. She's being a little bit of a rebel punk child. She's in her growing phases. She's almost a year old. Back to topic. There's stuff in the first chapters that I don't mind taking the time to point out. I need to figure out how to pull them up on Kindle without having to... Okay, here's my notebook. I'm gonna go to my notes. Here we go. This is all the notes I've made in the Kindle book up to this point. Go back. Where am I? This one. What's this one? Okay. So this is part of a section I didn't like because it goes like talking about her wanting to be an artist and then going into like, oh, so all I can do is admire scenery, into, oh, by the way, I'm boning this dude named Isaac Hale. It was like, why did we have to go through those steps in the process? Like, this is not very fluid writing. We could have introduced this concept here with the Isaac Hale thing in a better way or a different chapter and focus more on her hunt. Now, this is something I'm going in to check. Dog inside, and he could have sworn the ground itself shuddered. He barked in pain. Toward Vince's eyes wide, hackles raised. The snow... This is what I don't get, right here. Wolf, definitely just a wolf despite his size, right? We're gonna highlight that. And then... This makes it very clear that this is not a fae. Okay, this is her sisters. What the fuck did I note of these? Too much sudden prosy description amidst normal writing. Yeah, that happens a lot. Like this, like the paragraph is very like direct wording. The sun had set by the time I exited the forest, my knees shaken, my hands stiff from clenching the legs of the deer had gone utterly numb miles ago. Not even the carcass could ward off the deepen and chill. The world was awash in hues of dark blue, interrupted only by shafts of buttery light escaping the shuttered windows of our dilapidated cottage. It was like striding through a living painting, a fleeting moment of stillness, the blue swiftly. Like, we get normal writing, prosy writing, back to normal writing. Like, why is these descriptive paragraphs should be ahead of action? Like, chapter 2 could have opened with this interesting description and eased into describing her returning with the deer. Like, so we know that mortals don't possess magic. Convenience. What did I write note for this? Sometimes I don't have notes. Why? Why don't they have magic? Like, there's no... Like, this disruption... I don't get this. Okay. Okay, so by the way, I've listened to tons of booktubers talk about this book, so I knew this name was pronounced Feyre, right? But when I was reading this book, every time I saw this name, I kept trying to read it in different ways, like fair, fire. Like, my brain could not conceptualize how this was pronounced, and it took until chapter 2 to get an actual breakdown of her name's, like, pronunciation. Like, that feels like a very chapter 1 detail that we should get, more than the big hunt chapter. Like, I don't know. I don't like the way this book starts. And then we got the very atypical religion statement. Have you a moment to spare to hear about the word of the blessed? And it's like, the whole scene is very cringy, anti-religious vibes. Like, I'm not a religious person, but the vibes it gave me were not exactly, like, the best. And we get this, like, as they near the acolytes, the fairy love and horde, like, they're really driving home how much the people hate these believers and stuff. Perhaps someone who had encountered others who did not see vows. See, like, this is something I find a little annoying. Like, she ran those dark eyes down me again. How? Not a question, a command. Perhaps someone who had encountered others who do not see. Like, this, if I remember correctly, don't need to tell us explicitly. Yeah, she's once again telling us explicitly something about the character through their dialogue. I hunted them myself, I swear. How? Not a question, a command. That doesn't make sense. Like, why isn't it just a question and a single word? How? Her tone commanded to have an answer to that question. Like, you could even make it how question mark, like one syllable word question mark, direct and to the point, made it very clear that she's being very direct. Like, you steal them, very direct statement. You know what kind of tone your mind will fill in for that how question mark, and you maybe might put in she ran those dark eyes down me again how question mark. You don't need this section that goes not a question, a command. Or down me again. Her tone turning like it's unnecessary. Like, there's these are all nitpicks, I guess you could say. Go back to where I was at. So yeah, there's this, the prose is not strong. The prose is very weak, very, like, somebody who edited this needed to take the time to edit it appropriately. So it flowed together to give her direction on, like, order of, like, events. Like, that very prosy description of the place is tucked in between very normally described action-oriented paragraphs was really random and very jarring. Like, it stuck out to me. I was like, this is very weird tempo and pace here. I'm gonna make my tail bigger. There we go. Anyways, yeah. So we're gonna start the first 15-minute timer. And get our first big read and sprint jog on. You guys don't need to hear me rant about how much I have not enjoyed the first 4 chapters. Like I said, it very much imitates the opening arc of Katniss. You get the desperate family, how she's the only one who supports and provides for them, especially the opening hunting scene. We get more detail about Isaac Hale, and how she's just sleeping around with him and he's already set to marry someone else off somewhere else. Like, I don't feel like the Isaac stuff is necessary for any of the characterization for the character. Heck, you could casually write her as sleeping around with multiple people. It does, whatever. Anyways, and then like get that part. And then you get to the part where the wolf shows up. Like, she in the first chapter says, Wolf is not a fae. Confirms it's not a fae. Father confirms it's not a fae. Big wolf bro, I forgot his name already, shows up and he's like, that was a fae. And they're like, oh, it was a fae all along. And it's like, how can 2 people miss that point? Like, it does not explain how they missed the point. Or missed that visual cue or whatever. Like, I just don't like it. And it's okay if I don't like it. Like, it's okay if you like this book. So, I'm going to, once again, start the first sprint of the read. This is going to be a 15-minute section. We'll see how far I get. I'm going to try not to make notes because that'll slow me down. And then I'll talk about what I just read for those 15 minutes. Worst case, we switch to a chapter by chapter read and comments thing. Okay. Let's start. How? Ugh. How does she know it's been 2 days? Nothing in that dialogue makes it clear how she knows it's been 2 days. Oh. Oh, hi, cat. Oh, that metallic ringing is from the music. That's getting my eardrums a little not happy. What? I'm almost done with this section. Oh, there we go. Pause time. Oh, I hate that sound. Okay. Reset. So that was 15 minutes. Let's get back to my ob screen. Let's see. I've increased my read by another 13%. Honestly, she's over here whining because Freya's on top of the tower, and she always whines when she wants to get access to the cat. You're not gonna get the cat. No, you're not. Now back to reading. Let's see, where am I at? So I'm here, which is her sitting down and eating food. With them. She's obviously refusing to eat because she's been told if you eat the food and the wine from the Fae, you'll be trapped in the Fae realm, etc., etc. I'm expecting that to get turned on its head, and that's not an issue later on. So you're gonna be like, "Waha! That won't happen to you because of reasons." But I'm not far enough yet. Introduced to the other guy who goes from like being like angry and weird towards her, towards other Max Blondie being like don't be mean, Lucian. And then he's all like, oh, your hair is like burnished gold and your eyes are like star. I'm like, what? What? Like, why that sudden shift? Like, maybe I'm reading this with a critical eye, but like, even if I was reading this without preconceived like notions, this is not well written. Like, this needed somebody to sit there and not beta read and not edit, because there's not a lot of grammar issues, but I'm not a grammar person. But there's definitely a lot of narrative structure issues where it's just odd and awkward in spots. So they choose to put like a big descriptive section in the middle of normal dialogue. And I've just finished chapter like is it 5, and I'm halfway through 6. And 5, it's like 2 days have passed, and it's like nothing in the prose, in the paragraphs describe how she is aware that 2 days have passed. Nobody told her a date or time. She didn't read the sky. Like, she's in a whole different territory after the walk. Like, how did she know? Did she just know? Like, there's leaps in logic that are happening and shifts in the dynamic that are just going from A to D and skipping B and C. And it doesn't flow well. Like, sometimes it's you're literally being handed and described stuff, and it's like, and then you're being skipped over certain sections of the dialogue or the prose to like get right to the next point. Like, she's following a bullet list of things to do and get done and skipping critical things. Like, let's see. Let me go pull it up first. And like, I kind of get this part. Like, let me pull it up. Here and then here. It's like here, like Lucian behave. I'm so like, does his command of this Fae like pose a gaze on him, and he has to suddenly be even nicer because of what this dude like said? Is he like commanding them into being like this? But it's like I said, it's just A, D. Like, maybe this is our hint that he had like got compelled. He must have learned my name at the cottage. Ma'am, you were there. Everybody was saying your name 10 different ways to Sunday. That's obvious. You didn't need to put this in here for the reader's sake. Like, her name is Feyre, and the reader would have automatically been like, yeah, he probably heard it when they were talking at the house. The other thing I reacted to was, I guess you guys heard me midway in the chapter. Here, 2 days. It took 2 days from the cottage to reach the wall. How does she know? And we keep getting this too. My prison or my salvation. My prison or my salvation. During the whole entire chapter 5. Like, it's not well written. And I'm not surprised, to be honest, like, that it's not. I can't personally see why people like this book so far. If this is truly, because I think this is the Beauty and the Beast retelling, right? With some weird other stuff going on. And like, I'm literally doing the stream to like work through this book. Like, that's the big thing. It's like, if I make content out of it, I can tolerate what I'm going through. It's, I don't want to say it's not awful. The book is not good. Not well written so far. I just can't jive with what's happening so far. it really feels like from that first chunk, it just really feels like a Katniss Everdeen 2.0, which makes sense because at a certain point, a lot of YA novels, their protagonists are designed in a way to, like, especially female ones, are designed in a way to emulate that successful character. And this first chunk really shows that emulation, that trying to channel that same successful character going into this. Um I just I don't and I'm kind of repeating points like in between. Like obviously if I made a longer reading sprint for each sprint, I would probably get more words in. But I wish like someone could explain to me why they like this book. Like just explain it to me. Give me the lowdown on what drew you to this book. Was it really just the smut? I haven't even seen the smut yet, so I don't know how high quality it is. I've only listened to people read snippets from it. Um and to me it sounds like cringy like fan fiction written smut. So our RP community written smut. So who knows? We'll get there soon though, won't we? Or I don't know when the actual first smut scene happens in the first book. Please make it be far off. Um, God, I don't want to seem like I'm trying to like hate read this book because I am trying to go at this as a neutral third party, like, but I don't enjoy it so far. And yeah, I could DNF it, but when you're reviewing content and you're trying to be a genuine booktuber, you need to like work through what you're reading. Will I read the books after this? No. Some writers improve, but from what I've understood from people, it doesn't really get better. It just gets more weirder and performative, and yeah. So let's start our next read section. See if I run into anything else that I need comment on. Okay. I love how everybody always talks about not being able to move freely in a dress. And there's also content out there in movies that try to make the commentary that dresses are very mobile and like free range. Uh, it had been it's only been 2 days, maybe 3. Hmm. So the conversation she caught from Lucian and Goldie Boy here interlinks to the talk from the mercenary earlier about things past the border. Ugh. Ah, so there's his name, Tamlin. Look, I don't know his name. Well, the tunic isn't as pretty as a dress. Okay, Tamlin, women can wear pants with pockets too, you son of a bitch. I prefer not to wear a dress, and why not? Because killing us is easier in pants. I don't get this. I'll talk about it after the break. I'm sure these bros aren't just a gay couple living in a castle, a manor, because that would make more sense. See, that's what I meant! Ugh. She left her family behind, and he's all like, well, don't worry, they're being taken for, because why would I? Like, none of this is. Ugh. Tamlin's a shitty male lead. His claws slipped back under his knuckles. What? What did I miss? Why is he suddenly making a deal about her being, like, all into talking to the Hive Babe because they're hot men? Why are they conversing about her love life? This is so dumb. Like, this, the progression of this story. This book already reminded me why I hate hetero romances. I'm sorry if you like them, but okay. So this is what bothers me. She does a lot of directly telling you things, and then she also does a lot of really subtle characterization things. It's so muddled between the telling and the showing. Like, something she tells you outright, and other things she's very like, oh, look at these little clues and hints that Tamlin's a control freak. Like, okay, and a creep. And like he has to, like, he has a savior complex or something. Like, he saved her and therefore, like, he must be obedient, but he's also holding her family ransom basically to ensure she stays there. Like, the progress and the process don't make sense to me in a linear, like, in a sequence of events, because I don't know how to describe it. Like, when you read a book, things should read smoothly enough that you understand where it's going. And this book doesn't really do that too well. Like, the first chapter opens with her going to hunt a wolf. Going to hunt for deer. She shoots a wolf. The narrative doesn't make it clear that this was a fae. She confirms that it was not a fae from whatever happened. She brings it to the family's house. It was not a fae, confirmed by her father, I believe, who's like, oh, definitely not. And then, like, dude shows up, like, you killed him, you're coming with me to live with me. And his whole thing when they're at this castle now, 2-3 days later, he's like revealing that her family was never fucked all along. He's taking care of them, and if she stops staying here and honoring the treaty, he will stop taking care of her family. Therefore, once again, rendering him words stuttering. It really builds him up as an awful dude, because he's keeping her there against her will, using these tactics that are pretty much like abusive, but in a hammy-fisted, romantic-y, tropey sort of way. And then the awkwardness of, like, Lucian suddenly making a big deal about how hot they are compared to mortal men. And I'm like, and then it gets hand-waved as, oh, he's just vain. It's fine. He just has to be this way. Ugh. I don't like it. It's fine that I don't like it. Oh, I was supposed to post that today. That's fine. And it's just, it doesn't flow well. It's very jarring. Like, the progression of the events is very, like, this into this. Like, there's no subtlety to the progression. There's a lot of telling, and then random moments where they're trying to be more subtle with the hints about the plot and how it's going to go. And the inconsistency is jarring. That's the only way I could say it. Like, the prose, the flow, it doesn't. It's not consistent in its style, and it makes it very um jarring to read. Um, No, I'm not going to comment on the romance aspect of the book because one, I haven't got to the point where it's progressed enough to know that there's a romance in this book. Um, the comment on it, I'm usually kind of neutral to problematic romances. Um, the het ones make me a little bit more cringier than, cringe a little bit harder than LGBTQ romances. They're a little bit uncomfy. Maybe it's because I personally am of a sapphic persuasion. Um, and therefore, like, I can stomach, like, a somewhat, like, unhealthy. It probably doesn't help that I've had a lot of bad experiences and my own, I'm going to call them my closet romances, because I was basically in hetero romances for a while until I figured out that I am not into dudes whatsoever. And they were unhealthy. And like reading unhealthy hetero romances are just kind of a reminder of those unhealthy relationships. So, yeah. I don't mind the story so far. Um the prose, the flow, and the narrative design bug me. Like, there's not a good logic throughway on or flow to how things are happening in the story. Um, in fact, I would probably call it a little bit cringe, as much as I don't like using that word to describe certain stuff. Uh, but you're getting a few of my verbal reactions as I sprint through some of the content, so I'm gonna take 10, refill my water bottle, give you guys a break from me being a little bit about this story, and then when I'm back, we'll get to the next sprint section. I might up it to 30 minutes for this one. But we're basically going in 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes. We'll see how it goes. Anyways, laters, guys. Oh, not laters. I will be right back. Water time in a nom. Hi, I've returned from my break. We are going to pull up the book, the timer. Just wanted to send. Oh, what the hell just happened? Okay, I hit the thing and I messed up my place in the book. Okay. Now we get to start the third 15-minute sprint. Go, Starto! Should really put these on the same screen. I couldn't, for the sake of, yeah. I'm just gonna put this around my neck. Oh, sometimes I just can't with having my headsets on top of my ears. Woman trying to convince herself that Tamlin's a good person. Well, it's all like thinking about how much peace and quiet and how nice these people might be. And then she rigs a trap to hit one in the face, and of course they get angry. Oh boy. They're stuck in the mask. Oh, God. Because the masks are so dreadful and the magic is so weakened. Oh no. The suggestion that he would have snuck in her room at night and untold things to her. I wonder if any of the Highway would bother warning any kind. Didn't take me long to know the aunt and what. Oh, that makes sense. Because it doesn't take them long to reveal anything in this book. Because we just had to tell you about the sickness in the masks instead of, you know, ease towards it with a good scene or some nice, like, narrative flow. I love the word narrative flow. I would have been more interested if the book started with Feyre. She gets killed, and you get the story of like one of the sisters having to struggle along, discovering the sickness. Yeah. Fucking pixies. Telling you, Lucy and Tamlin are totally boning on the side, and there's never gonna be a story about it. The mask thing makes no sense, though. Are you admiring my sword or just contemplating killing me, Feyre? Okay, men and their fascinations with their phallic objects. Oh, I hate that boop boop noise. Okay. Pause that for now. Oh, I had to finish this chapter. I'm actually very close to done, so. Got her runaway bag together. Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness me. Still oh, that's not what I wanted to click. Cancel. Wanted to pull back up my timer so I could reset it. There we go. So, no big changes on my comments about it. I mean, I said some of what I was saying during the reading of it. It's not super clear how safe her family is. He asks about her mother, which was weird. And he has a fluttery cheek moment to it, so God knows he might be having a touch of empathy or something. Who knows? I don't know. Do you know? Um Damn. It opinion hasn't really changed. It's still not exactly a good read so far. I still feel like the writing's still too jarring. Too much like one paragraph of this, another paragraph of that, another paragraph of this. Like they're jumping points. They're going from A to E to I to JK, suddenly R, and it's like missing parts of the alphabet along the way. And they're handing you some stuff along as you go to try to feel like they're still being subtle about everything, and they're not exactly being subtle. Like they go, the sickness is eating away at our magic, and we're required to wear these masks. And it's like, okay, well, you're required to wear masks. Why? What's significant about the mask part of this equation? Like, can you explain that a little bit further so we understand and can draw some better conclusions? I would appreciate it to better get a feel of what's going on here, and that just doesn't exist at the moment. And I guess they'll explain more. They go on about how people can be affected by this magic too, and that's why what's his face is across the wall. And I'm like, is that why like they mistook it for not a fae because their magic is weak? Is that the conclusion we're supposed to be drawn to, on why like they made the mistake of thinking the wolf wasn't a fae? I don't. Like I said, the narrative doesn't have this full-bodied experience that makes it clear what's going on. Well, to be fair, it's clear what's going on because they're being very blunt with it and then trying to be vague about other story aspects at the same time. Like, where I'm at right now in the book, like, as you can see, 19%. I'm about a fifth of the way through the book. I hold this book at, like, a 1. Maybe a 1.5, almost 2. Like, it's not awful, but the writing keeps it from touching 3 for me, like, whatsoever. I don't understand how some modern books manage to make it to consistent 5-star reviews. But to be fair, it's like movies, right? Like, not every movie is going to work for the critics, but it's going to be enough to satisfy the audience. And that's where this book kind of, like a lot of modern romantasy kind of falls in. A lot of it's really not that good, but the audience it's designed towards loves it, even if your typical fantasy book critic is like, this is not good. Note to self, A note to audience, I am not exactly a book critic. I am just somebody who is really passionate about narrative and story and have a love for reading and writing as a craft, and narrative, specifically narrative design and world building. Right now this book's world building is very weak. They're not doing a whole lot to like make the lore very obvious. Like, we know humans and fairies had a big war. They're on separate sides of a wall. There was a treaty. And that's kind of it. Like, we don't have any confirmation of whether or not, like, some of the human tall tales about Fae were fake, if they're being exaggerative. Like, the story is definitely still falling short in a lot of respects. And I'm like, I can keep going because 20% of a book isn't exactly enough to get the whole deal down, you know? But I don't know. Not bad, but it could be better. I'm gonna take a moment, refill my water bottle. Yes, I'm just a very thirsty person. And not for this book. And not in that way. I'm gonna preface that. Blush, I should bring my puppy inside. Okay, guys, I'm back. I've come to settle in once more. As you can see, I've gotten like three 15-minute runs in, so this will be my fourth one. I'm doing 15 minutes at a shot. I'm having animal problems, so yeah, one second. Dog aggro. I'm trying so hard, guys. I do apologize. Uh, she's just very rambunctious today. Alright, so let's see what time. 1:55. Hello, welcome to the stream. I am back again. I think this is my fourth 15-minute block. Might be my fifth. At this point, it's like a bad relationship. You're just here and you're kind of committed to the read for the sake of the friends that tell you need to read it to get it. And yeah, and I said I'd do this, and here I am. I even bought the Kindle version because I ran out of time on my Libby copy. I can't even gift my Kindle copy to somebody and be like, here, take it from me after I'm done. Let's see. We're going to begin our next... I'd rather start the sprint right at the 2 o'clock block. I got myself some spicy chicken ramen over here because I'm reading a spicy book. AKA a spicy chicken cup of noodle, more like it. And puppy's finally settling down, no more chaos from her. So by the time this starts, it should be good to go. Okay, that is not cool enough yet to take the first bite of the noodles. Okay. So we're gonna do another 15-minute sprint. This should give me the time. This should give me time for my noodles to cool down, and then we'll have a longer talk after this one. I'll probably put up like a 30-minute timer and talk about some random stuff. But feel free to talk in the chat. Even while I'm reading in a sprint run. Because you guys will hear me make comments as I go, and I can see the chat, I can see my counter, everything at the same time, so. Let's go! Next sprint. Chapter 9. Just gunning for that Lucian. Oh god. All I can think about is that awkward change in topic during the dinner scene. Where he started to go on about how hot they were and why she couldn't appreciate them. Like, dude, do you have a human woman fetish? Oh no, he's revealing forearms. How scandalous. This is Tamlin. Yep. Bro's trying so hard to get into her good graces, and she's just like, no, sir. And he's like, I'm angry, and my veins are popping out of my forehead and my throat, and I'm gonna summon my claws to tear you apart. That makes no sense. I hurried for the stables, tucking away the information. Maybe one day, if I was ever released. There was an ocean of years between us, I would think back and wonder why he'd bother. Him trying to accommodate her is what shit, I guess. Like I said, I'm not a low-level reader, guys. Like, I'm not making the connection between what happened to that statement unless she's talking about how he's bothered to try to be nice to her. Poor dudes have masks stuck to their faces. So she's looking for him, and he somehow managed to get close enough to stare down at her with grinning teeth. Like, that description implies he was, like, right next to her, looking down from the Geldon all along. His middle eye gleaming in the sunlight, slanting in through the oak. That sentence is so weird. Because it gets its point across, but it's unnecessary. You could have just said his metal eye gleamed in the sunlight. No, that tells us they're inside the stables, and he's sitting on the horse inside the stable. Do people usually mount their horse in the stables? Like, when I did equine therapy, we purposely brought the horses out to the field and staging area to mount, not in the stables. I'm not a very big horse person, so I don't know how practical that is to get on a horse inside the stables. Are you carrying your bowl around with your food in it? Oh my god, she's being weird. Okay, the bowl's on top of the food. I don't know what she's doing right now, but it's distracting me from my read. It's a bogey? Like a boogie? Like a boogeyman. Lucian loves it when they bite back. That's his kink. Her father fucking snuck to the fairy place? Oh my god. There was some changeling thing playing a prank, trying to trick her into going to it. Oh, there we go. It's over. The sprint is done. So we got to the father, the fake dad thing with the ashes and the bows and the bags. I don't know. I can't form a lot of feelings about this. Because to put it bluntly, there are moments where my brain like skips and I'm like, I don't understand what this is referencing now. Because it feels off. It reads off. And maybe I'm just bad at reading. Who knows? But I'm not bad at reading. My first big book was fucking the Melanie Ron's, like, the Dragon Prince series trilogy. Like, I've read, like, really hefty books since, like, the 5th grade. Um, it... So we got a bogey, we got Dark Fae in the woods around the house. Like, I guess they're trying to make it mysterious what's going on. I'm just not feeding into it very well. Not my flavor or pace, I suppose. But again, like I said before, what could read bad to me, who's somewhat more critical and understanding of narrative design and flow and prose and, like, not a grammar person, I'm more of a story design person. Where everything is about what happened, how it's worded, etc. to see what's going to happen next. And this book just loses it for me a little bit. You can see I'm almost a quarter way through the book. We're getting small bits of things happening, but not really any big answers. Like, we got something about a disease, and that's why the other wolf was past the barrier or whatever to try to find a cure for it. And yet this disease just... Why didn't they give any story about what happened leading up to the disease? Who might have put it on them? Like, there's not a whole lot being given yet to make sense of everything. If anything, if you're reading this purely to get the characterization of Tamlin and to see these two fuck. That's literally it. That's the point of romantasy. No deep thought fantasy plot, just waiting for the main characters to do. I don't know. I'm picky. If I have to read something smutty, I at least want the plot, either the book to be 100% smutty and not throw away the plot so it can stop trying to be a deep read, or I don't know. Like, either commit to the smut, stop trying to be a deep read and keep it simple, or balance the two effectively so that people who want a good fantasy read can enjoy the fantasy setting and not be put off by swallowing down bad plot and world building and characterization just to get to some spicy written sex scenes. Like, should have used the word smut. Goes in the YouTube police. Anyways, I'm sorry if you guys can hear me, like, oodling on my noodles here. I'm just super hungry. But I don't know. I want a book that is gratifying to read in the fantasy aspect, but the spice is spice, and it's good spice. You know? Ugh. Whatever. I'm going to finish this cup real quick, and then I'll get to the next sprint. There you go, so you guys don't have to hear me chomping away any noodles. Okay, let's go into our next stretch of reading. Somewhere in chapter, I think 10. I think. 11, excuse me. Her oath to her mom, so easily fulfilled by being a captive. That's a jarn. Switches right into a dream sequence. Switches into her waking up after just having a talk out on the morning patrol, not leading to her going. The house shouldn't be his. No enough explanation, just a lot of. She asked Hamlin to do something other than hunt. She told you before she didn't like hunting. Some of this is like unnecessary repetition of things already said before. Oh yeah, so he knew about the knife all along that she stole from the table. Oh boy. Oh, there we go. 15 minutes. Over. Where am I at? Oh, the start of chapter 13. Oh, which appears to be past the quarter point. I... This book is so slow to get to the point. And it gives you sections of a point. And it does another thing I don't really like, which is... I forgot what point that I felt this at exactly. And I'm not gonna go reread 2 chapters to find it again. But basically... when you want to be subtle with something, so I don't remember what it was, and I wish my brain could like retune into what it was. So when you're writing and you want to write something that's a little bit more subtle, like you don't want to give the answer right away, you give kind of a clue beforehand, you reveal the hole that clue is supposed to kind of fit into without revealing the whole thing, and then afterwards you give them the thing that fills in said hole, right? So, and I'm not talking about plot holes here. I'm talking about like, the answer to why, right? Like, you hint to something being off. The character asks why. They get some nature of answer to it that helps bring that clue into a little bit more understanding of the why. And then something happens afterward that finally full bodies the why, the answer to the why. And then you're like, oh snap, because it gives you the reader a reward for understanding something from early into later. This book doesn't really do that. It's more like I need to apply some wall plaster to a hole in my wall really quick so readers can not call this a plot hole, give you an explanation, and then leave part of the hole open without anything from prior reading being able to fill in the rest of the hole. So you're waiting to keep reading to find. So it's basically baiting you along to keep reading to get the answers instead of giving you a partial answer, the why after, and then the full answer after, to where you feel rewarded for putting in the mental effort of understanding what's happening before you get told what's happening. Instead, it's very much here's the hole in the wall, here's the plaster after the fact, accept the answers. Like, I don't like that kind of story writing where it's just like, problem given, solution follows. Any reveals should be alluded to. Like, why weren't, like, I guess you could argue the Dark Fae were alluded to with the mercenary in the very beginning, but then they completely fall off until the Boogie incident. And then they have a touchy moment with her patching his hand up and getting more explanations, or the poop. And it's like, it's very much not a fluid read. That's all I have to say. And it's definitely not my kind of read. I like books that I feel rewarded by reading them and understand and learning, kind of learning along with the protagonist. You know, like, or I can appreciate stories where, like, we don't have all the information because the character doesn't have all the information. They're not just being handed tons of information. Like, for example, with Gideon the Ninth, you're in Gideon's perspective. People complain about that book because they think there's a lot of plot holes. But there isn't. We are literally limited to Gideon's point of view. Gideon does not understand necromancy enough to know what's going on. She only knows what's going on through the information given to her by the other necromancers, other cavaliers that she's not originally a cavalier, so she doesn't understand their things. And then, like, we get this conclusion, people are like, plot holes, and I'm like, it's not a plot hole, it's a knowledge gap for that character, and we are not privy to what fills that knowledge gap until that character becomes aware of the information. But we get things in the writing that helps allude to what she will come to learn later, and we will learn with her. You're learning with the character, basically. And everything is hinted to in a very healthy way throughout the plot, to where, like, you get the little crumb, you get the cookie, half the cookie, and then you get the rest of the cookie later on, so you, yeah, I don't like this very blatant, like, drop of a fact to fill in, like, an explanation that hasn't been asked yet, or hasn't had a reason to be asked yet. I think I'm wording it poorly. Let's see, what time is it? Hello, welcome. You're listening to me mid-rant in between, sprints. I hope you're having a great day. Just talking about... I can't remember the fundamental term for it. Or the fundamental. The, words are hard. I write better than I talk. That's just facts. I don't know. I like more subtle environmental storytelling. And this book doesn't do a lot of that. It's not a book for me. But I'm still going through it. And let's see, 241. I'm waiting for 245. Let's see, what else can I talk about? Take a break from ranting about the book for a moment. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about school, I guess. School's been going fine. I'm struggling through microeconomics and business stats somehow, but having an okay time in telenetworking and telecommunications and networks and Python. I think I've made a choice that I need to deliver on Friday. I'm just here. Anyways, there's not a whole lot I can say or add to anything. Okie dokie. Let's see. Next sprint. Let's go. That is not my timer screen. This is my timer screen. Start though. Everybody has a plague that's keeping them from using their magic effectively, but Tamlin's works almost perfectly fine. can't read but can research. So she went from not to being illiterate to being semi-illiterate. There's not a good sense of time flow either in this book. So you don't know if it's literally taken her overnight to master that much words, or if it's Reset, that jump scared me that time. Oh, I'm starting to do the snooze-a-rooney over here. In fact, I'm snoozing so hard that might be the last bulk of the story. I went through 30%. Almost a third of the way through. And I still feel like I'm not getting anything out of this book. Like, I'm to the surreal scene where she's being told stuff. Because we can't just, learn and discover stuff. She needs to find a character that can tell her thing rather than discover thing. Or be told through the narrative. We need to find an exposition device to explain to us the plot. I don't like it. That step. Still 1.5 for me. It's interesting just enough, but not enough. You know? But, I think I might take my break now in the stream here. It's been 3 hours. I'm a third of the way through the book. Will I do another read and sprint stream of this? I don't know, like... Maybe I'll do a read stream where I just read the book and comment as I go. Sprints just seems kind of weirdly empty. Like I'm just sitting here and quiet. Like I could do... I might do a read record. That's probably what I'll do. Anywho. Thank you everybody who's shown up. If you're still lingering, don't forget to subscribe. Or something to that nature. Remember, take care of yourselves. Love your faces. Drink water. Which I'm totally gonna do right now. Bye.